Jenny. I'm from Journey of a Brave, and I love braiding as a manifesto of what we must do as a society, especially in times of social transformation. And I'm going back to talking about different books that I read, books that I believe matter and that can change minds and can open our world to different ideas and to understanding of different times that might seem extremely similar to where we are at right now as well. So this book, When We Cease to Understand the World, is by Benjamin Labatut. He was born in the Netherlands, but he's Chilean. I believe this is his third book. It has been translated to more than 22 languages, and it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize. It's an incredible book because, it's hard to say if it's a novel or not. In reality, if anything, it's a historical novel because it talks about all the scientists and all these people that have revolutionized science during the 20th century and the effects that their theories and their discoveries have had, both in their lives and in a more universal way in the bigger picture. And so it all starts with cyanide and this particle that was found in ultramarine blue, this color that was so wonderful and so valued during the Renaissance, a color that changed in paintings because it was a color that had never been seen. And yet, in order to produce this color, there was this remains of poison. And in time, you realize that this same particle that was so special just for art and artists' color became the main element for the gas chambers during the Holocaust. And so it just goes around into all these narratives and braids them together in a very unique way, talking about discoveries that seemed to their discoverers to be benefiting humanity, and yet ended up being things that hurt people more than anything. For every beautiful thing that was discovered, there was a lot of evil in the way that it was used. So once this cyanide is discovered and it's used in the gas chambers, the person that discovered it, he was a Jewish scientist whose family, part of his family, were killed by one of these gas chambers that only existed thanks to him. And then they also talk about this very interesting fact, which is about Fritz Haber. Fritz Haber, who is from this huge company that is quite known. And he wins a Nobel Prize because he was the first person to find a way to extract nitrogen from the air. Before, in order to get that kind of nitrogen, they needed to extract it from bones of dead people and dead animals. And so this changed everything, because once this was possible, plants could be modified in different ways in order to keep growing and to feed huge populations. So the population spike that there was from 1.6 to 7 billion in less than 100 years would have never been possible without him, because a world famine would have destroyed everything. And yet he was very scared about how the effects in the long term of this nitrogen being available to humanity, because he even says, the man who pulled bread from the air, his intention was to continue manufacturing gunpowder and explosives. That's the main reason why it was there. And the pesticides he discovered and gave to the Nazis ended up killing his own family without him knowing, because again, he was of Jewish descent. Then he kept talking about how what he had discovered sort of destroyed a big part of the equilibrium in the planet, and how there's always consequences to that. Then there's so many other scientists that they reference. I'm not gonna talk about all of them for the sake of time, but if you are considering reading this book, what I have to say is that what becomes really interesting is this understanding about good and evil, and how it's always in a constant balance, and all these wonderful people who have taken science to the next level have always faced at some point this dilemma of the things that should or shouldn't have been known. One of the scientists that I reference ends up just going into the wilderness and leaving everything behind after discovering the answer for a very, very relevant formula that he knew would change humanity. But he also knew what that meant, because of course we humans tend to take the wrong decisions with the right answers. And then all these stories are the main theme, the main ribbon, the thread that braids them all together is simple understanding of world dynamics and understanding who we are as humans and all the different layers that everything that's happening in the world always has behind. I absolutely recommend that. It's one of those books that leaves you thinking, leaves you thirsty for more information, and kind of reminds me the book by Maria Popova, which is called Figuring, and it's very similar in the way that it breaks different narratives, but Maria Popova's is more on the feminine side. It's also wonderful scientists and artists and astronomers whose lives had all these different layers and sort of mixed together in the least expected way. So I do recommend that if you enjoy this book, you also read Maria Popova's Figuring, because it brings like this feminine perspective. This one is an extremely masculine book in the end. There's this quote that I do want to read to you in case you're not really sure if you want to read it or not, because it's beautiful. It's from the chapter on Schwarzschild, and it talks about when he was overcome by this sense of imminent disaster. Is there anything that is truly at rest, something stationary around which the universe revolves? Or is there nothing at all to hold on to amid the endless chain of movements in which every single thing seems bound? Just imagine how we have fallen into uncertainty if the human's imagination cannot find a single place to lay its anchor, if not a single stone in the world has the right to be considered immobile. For me, this quote means so much right now, because I think that's what we're all looking for. We're trying to find something to hold on to, and it's becoming harder and harder. So, anyway, wonderful book. You're gonna read about incredible theories. You're gonna learn about a time when people were trying to transplant a soul from one person to the other. It's gonna make you really, really scared of artificial intelligence, even without them mentioning it. And you will remember this book. I'm Dania from Journey of a Brave, and this is a short summary of When We Cease to Understand the World by Benjamin Labatut. Do take the time to read it.